Back in 2015, the original Everspace launched into orbit thanks to a successful Kickstarter campaign, and just weeks ago, Everspace 2 achieved liftoff. Space puns. Here to tell us about what's new in this open world single player RPG is Michael Shade. Hi, what's going on, man?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm sorry I gave you all those space puns earlier. That was I'm embarrassed. We'll power through it. Congrats
Right.
on Everspace 2. The first one was a totally kick-ass game, but it was more of a roguelike, and now you're going open world. How did this plan come together?
Yeah, that's a good question. We get that quite a lot. So the first one is more like, as you can think, like freelancer meets FTL. So we have this open space core mechanic, but then we mix it with a roguelike system, which is something that not everybody liked, especially if you're coming from an open world game, like if you're used to the classic open world space games. But back then we didn't have the budget. So it was our first title for Rockfish Games. And thanks to the commercial success, we were able to start with Everspace 2 as an open world RPG, which is basically what all our fans, or most of our fans, wanted from us. And we did a second Kickstarter last year, which was successful as well. So obviously we did something that people are super excited again.
Is that sort of like an interesting dynamic to the game development process? Is going through Kickstarter and relying so inherently on your fans and their feedback?
Well, I would say if you don't have a huge IP that everybody knows already, then Kickstarter is a great way to connect with your fan base and see if your vision is right, and to work with your community on certain aspects of the game and like get them early on board. But also it's good to double down on your financials. So you're a little bit more secure. You may add new features to the game or more content. And this is basically what we did last year.
The original game was gorgeous, especially considering the fact that it was your studio's first game, and it was done through Kickstarter and everything. And again, like you said, this is not like a massive, well-known IP. You're getting there, right? But this game looks even better. So how did you achieve that?
Well, the main reason is here that we now have a persistent world, which is like you can bake the lighting solution, so you can really take all the advantages of Unreal Engine 4, versus for the first title, it was procedurally generated, like with any roguelike. So you only have the real-time lighting, and that has certain limitations. But now we really can go all the way, bake super high-definition lighting solutions, but also thanks to the bigger budget, we increased the team. So we have a few more artists. We also work with some AAA outsourcing people. So we really increased also the detail to all the spaceships and the textures. And it's just with more budget, you can increase the scope, but also the quality of the game. But the biggest change is really, this is now a persistent world where we can bake the lighting solution, and you can tell how much prettier now the space environment looks like.
Yeah, I absolutely adore the look of this game. The aesthetics, right down to the design of the ships, are like really, really cool to me. And for me, like personally, that's kind of make it or break it when it comes to games like this. I have to like really be into the ship design. I'm a big like old school sci-fi fan, and so this is immediately connecting with me. What were some sort of Did you guys have any sort of like classic sci-fi movie or TV show or video game inspirations for the ship designs? Because it's super cool.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can't make a space game without being inspired by Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Star Trek. Of course, we all saw that, and we really love these IPs. And well, then there is the challenge that you maybe you pick some of those ideas, but then you want to blend this with your own original ideas to make this special. And another big wish from our community was that we have more spaceships. So in the original Everspace, there were only four player ships, which all had very different capabilities. So you could pick your own play style, but it was just four ships. And making a space game to a certain degree is like making a racing game. So having a lot of different spaceships with different capabilities is super important to a lot of space game fans. So this time around, we went for a different approach, because obviously if you create a spaceship, you also have to create the cockpits. So you do a super high detailed ship itself, then you have the cockpit with financial displays and whatnot. So a lot of work goes into design of the spaceships. And this is just a huge budget if you have like a lot of ships. So this is why we came up with a modular design approach for those ships. Now, if you do this modular design approach, you have to be very careful or spend a lot of time in making sure that those spaceships doesn't look like just generic ships. So we came up with
Right.
a certain set of design rules for the hull, the cockpit, the engines, the wings, which then define what kind of what kind of class the ship belongs to. So you can immediately tell this is like a light, a medium, or a heavy fighter.
Oh wow. So how many ships does that make you end up with then? It seems like almost like an endless combination in a way.
Yeah, theoretically, you have an endless amount of configurations, but so what we did is like we said, so what is really designing the characteristic of a ship, which is basically the wings. So let's say the Sentinel that we have has forward swept wings. And that really defines the type, the class of that ship. And then you have variations for your hull, the engines, but there's also customization possibilities. So we have several tiers of that ship. So later on in the game, you will find more powerful versions of that Sentinel. And you also see this in the visuals. And at some point in the game, the player will be even able to customize the ship. So this is not only what kind of colors you're changing or choosing. You have like 3 different colors, but you will also be able to like change little things on the wingtips and those kind of things.
God, that's awesome. I actually, in the middle of you explaining that, when we went through this tunnel area, I whispered, "Wow," because I was just like, I really love how this game looks. So far, we've seen sort of above land. We've gone underground into tunnels. We've seen like straight up dogfighting in space, and this is like right here too. And this is an open world game. And so, what is it like to sort of fly from one end of this world to the other? This is just a massive interconnected environment? How long would that take?
Well, the world itself, we have like 8 to 12 star systems, and each star system will have like several locations. So it really depends how much time you spend within these systems. And for us, we wanted to make this super easy to get around. So actually traveling from one side of the game map to the other side doesn't take that long, because Everspace is not about like real-time space exploration. We want to have this super fast-paced combat with deep exploration of the environment, but easy to get around. So we have more detail. There's more stuff within each location that you can do. So basically, you could go like in a couple of minutes from one destination to the other, if you're strong enough, if you're good enough, because obviously you will run into enemies that make it very difficult for you to progress if you are a rookie at the very beginning of the game.
That's actually like my favorite kind of game design, is to get cocky enough to veer into an area where a bunch of high level stuff will totally kick your ass. No, I love that. So speaking of which, let's talk about the combat a little bit, because it looks really great. What sort of additions have you made since the first game? What were some of the things that you guys were really happy about tackling?
Yeah, so we kept the fast-paced space combat, so it's very intuitive. And our promise is like, if you fire up the game, if you want to, you will have an explosion on your screen within the first minute of gameplay. So really, action comes first. But we also have a lot of depth in the gameplay mechanics. So obviously there will be a lot of different primary and secondary weapons, but then there will be like ship devices. You can compare this like skills in RPG, and then you pick your skills, your devices. This could be like a teleporter, or you have the ability to like cause damage that spreads over certain enemies. And then over time, you find different modes that you can tweak those devices with. So there's really a lot of versatility in how you equip your ship. So it's defined, the general capabilities are defined by the ship subclass. In total, we have like 3 main classes with 3 subclasses each. So you choose your ship from like 9 different ship classes, but then you can individually change the characteristics of that spaceship by assigning different devices, and even go further with like modding these devices.
Holy crap! So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. People are going to be playing this game for a very, very long time. Speaking of which, when can people start to get their hands on it, and what platforms are you coming to?
So we are now rolling out the closed alpha, which was part of our Kickstarter program, to around about 1,000 backers in June through Steam. And then the first time the game will be publicly available will be December this year on Steam. And then we plan to be for about a year in Steam Early Access to really make sure that we're working with the community and with our fans to make sure that the game is really rock solid when it hits full release. And that is scheduled for late 2021, maybe early 2022, because we will also come out on console, on PlayStation and Xbox. And we're currently talking to various publishers. Might be the case that a big publisher picks up the game on console, and then they obviously would do a retail version as well. So in that case, the full release would be Q1 2022.
That's incredible news. So if you're liking what you're seeing, jump on that alpha as soon as you can. Hop on their subreddit and everything, give notes, give feedback. I really love that you guys are working dynamically with the community to shape this game into something. Because I'm very eager to play this, and especially once if there's a chance for it to hit consoles someday, even more. That's super, super cool. Michael, thank you so much for bringing Everspace 2 onto Summer of Games. I cannot wait to play more. Everspace 2 is one of the many games we'll be covering here at Summer of Games. So do not go anywhere, because IGN is with you all summer long with tons and tons of video games.